Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So I had a question sent to me over Twitter. I can't read the whole thing, or really much of it at all, because there's too much identifying information in it, and I happen to know I've got a pretty big audience in this geographic area. But it's from a person who is attending a university, and this university is heavily funded and benefits a lot from a large corporation that happens to have its headquarters nearby. He doesn't support this corporation, actively opposes it. But he was given the opportunity to organize some talks, some speaking engagements. And then he finds out the facility they'd be held at was funded by this corporation, and that they'd be funding the event. And he asks, how can I take their money and fight them? Man, if only there was a way to do that. There is, the way you just said. As long as the money isn't affecting the content that you're putting out, as long as it's not going to change your speaker list, as long as it's not going to alter what they're going to talk about. You know, the Department of Defense has this course, not really a course, more of a impromptu most times, but they take guys and they teach them how to use PKs and sax horns and a bunch of stuff the U.S. military doesn't use itself. It's not in their inventory. But they teach our guys how to use it. Why? On the off chance the opposition ever leaves it behind, they know that when you're fighting a battle, especially one as big as the one we're involved in, you never let a resource the opposition gives you go to waste. Yeah, I'm sure there are some people that would say that it would be hypocritical to use their resources. Yeah, well, ask them what they've done. Ask them what they've done. There are times when using the opposition's resources is your only option. You would not fault a soldier behind enemy lines who picked up a foreign weapon. It wouldn't even cross your mind. And that's kind of the way we are in this fight. When you're talking about altering society, we're behind enemy lines. The status quo is there. If a large corporation is willing to fund you organizing speakers that are going to speak out against them, well, that's just bad decision making on their part. You have no ethical obligation to correct that mistake for them. You take that money and you smile and you put on your event. The odds are your speakers are going to reach more people than whatever perceived PR value there is. And that's why these large companies do this. Large companies, especially those with questionable business practices, they put a lot of money into the local area. And it's to generate goodwill. If your speakers draw attention, or even inadvertently draw attention to some of those practices, well, that's a win. You know, at the end of the day, when you're talking about companies that are that big and that pervasive in our society, there's no getting away from them. Even if you held the event at a different location without their funding, you'd probably still end up using their services. When you're talking about companies of that size, it doesn't matter. You know, there's that catch-all saying now, you know, there is no ethical consumption. I mean, there is, but it's pretty rare. Most things you buy, most activities you become involved in are in some way, shape, or form going to benefit the establishment. You just have to make sure that the benefit to the people outweighs the benefit to the establishment. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.